In this video, I'm reviewing some new foam and microfiber pads from Americana Global, as well as showing you guys how to remove holograms. What's going on? So glad you are here and welcome back to the Wilson Auto Detailing community. If you're a pro auto detailer or car enthusiast who loves everything auto detailing, then definitely consider subscribing. So let's get right into the content of this video, the foam and microfiber pads. Now in this video, I want to show you guys particularly what makes this company a little bit different as far as the pads go. Again, this is the first time I'm using these pads. You guys can see I'm just taking it out of the plastic bag here. Now this is their medium cutting foam pad. This is Americana Global's medium cutting foam pad. This is a 6-inch pad. It's gonna go on my Rupes here in a second. Now, what? I feel like the kind of like the coloring book little game. Which of these pictures is not like the other? What's the difference between this pad and all the other pads you see? Well, this particular pad has 6 little holes right between the middle of the foam pad and then the edge. So it's like right in the middle of the radius. It's got these little tiny holes in it. Now, what do these holes do? What is the point? Well, according to the people who manufacture this, these holes actually help to decrease the speed at which your pad heats up, meaning hopefully these holes actually allow more airflow through to the pad, therefore lowering the temperature of the pad and therefore increasing the work time of the polish, increasing the level of correction that you can get done when you're using a pad like this. Now logically, I would say this actually makes a lot of sense. These holes, when the pad is spinning as fast as it does on a dual action polisher, obviously are going to allow more airflow. So I actually really like the concept of this. Now again, this is their medium cut foam pad, so what I actually want to show you guys are the holograms in this paint, and I want to share with you guys how I'm going to fix them, so let's check it out. Now, I have totally closed the garage door and turned out all the lights, but don't be afraid, we have a light right here. Now this is actually a light by a company called Buff Bright. It actually attaches to your dual action polisher, which I have one attached to my DA right now, but what I want to do as these lights are off, and I'm trying to get a better maybe to show you guys a better angle of these holograms. I think you guys can see what I'm talking about. Like, check this out as I move the light across. Do you see right in here these holograms? For those of you who don't know, hologramming happens from a rotary polisher. Generally, a wool pad on a rotary polisher will really increase the amount of holograms that you're getting. Basically, what I did with this car a few months ago is I said, okay, I'm gonna do a 2-stage polish, and I'm going to start with my rotary and a heavy cut, and then I'm gonna go right after that to my DA with a finishing polish and a finishing foam pad. And basically what I was testing is, can I do that in 2 steps without getting holograms? Can I do that 2-step polish? If I can, awesome. If I can't, then I'll just make another video showing how to get rid of holograms. So it was kind of a win-win for me as far as it creating content goes. And this is actually my own vehicle, so that's why I was able to test that kind of thing on here. But basically my premise was, okay, can I use these 2 particular polishes and 2 particular pads with my rotary and my DA and not get holograms? Obviously the answer is no, but of course in my world I like to experiment a bunch. So I'm just gonna move this light across the panel. And again, you don't want to look in the center of the light. You want to look on kind of the halo around the light, and you'll be able to see those holograms. Can you see that? What looks like swirls, okay? It looks like swirling, particularly like right here. Those are not actually swirl marks, though they kind of are swirl marks, but they're basically tiny little scratches in a circular pattern that the rotary polisher put into the paint because of the heavy abrasives, the heavy cutting abrasives that I started with in the compound I was using. And because I finished right after that with a DA and a finishing polish, there needed to be an in-between step there that kind of took these scratches down a little bit more. Basically, the rotary put in these holograms, and the finishing polish I used was not heavy enough to take them out. And so you're left with something like this. And a lot of detailers who have not done paint correction for a very long time will leave a car like this, and then this is kind of what you would call a hack job, right? Now, again, not that I consider myself a hack, but again, I was doing some experimenting with some particular pads and particular polishes, and I wanted to see, can I use both of these in this particular way and not get holograms? And of course the answer is no, so I'm fixing that right now, and it makes for great content. So once again, you guys can really see a bunch of that swirling, and again, that's hologramming. It has kind of a distinct look when you put it next to swirls, but again, that is what that looks like. So that is what we're going to be taking out. Now the product that I'm going to be using in this video is going to be One by 3D Car Care. I'm trying to do a lot of experimenting with this product. It is a one-step, in other words, they call it a hybrid compound and polish. Basically the idea is that you can accomplish the compounding and the polishing, the finishing in one single step, and these products are really getting a lot more advanced in the industry, so I want to do a lot of testing with it. Now I'm going to be starting with the medium cut orange foam pad from Americana Global, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this on my Rupes and we will get into it. Now you guys can see on my Rupes I've got my Buff Bright light attached here. Check that out. So it's got a high setting, it's got a low setting, and it's got a strobe setting, which I don't know what you would use this for, but disclaimer, if you have epilepsy, do not use this. I'm gonna go ahead and attach the pad here, try to make sure I'm getting it even, and again, this is a 6-inch pad. So it needs to be used very obviously with a 6-inch polisher. Now before I actually get into polishing it, I need to strip the paint. I've already washed the paint, I've clay barred the paint, but it needs to be stripped. So I'm actually gonna be using another product from Americana Global called Stripper. Not to be confused with the other definition of that word. So this is a residue and oil remover. Basically what a paint stripper does, if you've ever used an IPA wash, isopropyl alcohol wash, a lot of guys will use an IPA wash, which is a 50-50 dilution generally of rubbing alcohol and distilled water on the paint to strip the paint from any fogs, residue, fingerprints, even some sort of waxes or sealants that have been left behind. The problem with an IPA wash is that while yes, you can use it, and there are times when I do use it, it can do something called swelling the paint, which will inhibit your paint correction process at a level. So in every situation, I definitely suggest, if you can, getting a product like this Stripper product from Americana Global to strip the paint. It's a dedicated paint stripper, and that is what I would use. It doesn't need to be diluted, so I just have it a little bit in this spray bottle right here. And there's really no need to overthink this part. I'm just gonna spray it kind of on the area that I'm gonna be polishing all the way down here. And I'm gonna be pretty generous with it. Alrighty. Not because I have to, but just because I want to. I'm actually kind of gonna try to work it in at a level as I do this. So I'm just gonna go back and forth here, just like this. Again, it dries very easily, it comes off very easily, but I do kind of want to try to work it in just a little bit because I want to, again, remove anything that might be there. And because this is my own vehicle, I do know that it was waxed recently. So I want to make sure all that gets removed. Then I'll flip to my dry side here, and I'm just gonna buff off any of that residue, just like this. Now, because this is a totally new pad, I am going to, well, number one, shake my product, but I'm gonna use a little bit more product than I normally would, just because, again, you hear that phrase, seasoning your pads. Basically, seasoning your pads can be, in most cases, code for spread your product around on your pad before you actually use it on the paint. So I'm gonna use a little bit more than I normally would so that I can get some good kind of lubricity, more or less, I guess would be a good way to say it. I'll go in between these dots here. And because I'm in the cold weather, I don't have to worry about doing, you know, little bits at a time. There's nothing that's gonna dry too heavily, and I'm inside in a garage. I'm gonna close the garage door. But again, this is way more than I would ever use normally. But number one, I'm gonna be doing like this whole side in one single pass. And so I gotta use more for that. And number two, it's a totally new pad, and so I do wanna kinda season it here and rub the polish slash compound around just like this to make sure that I get kind of an even spread. So you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here, just like that. And now we are ready to start. All right, so now we are in the dark, the garage door is closed, and I've got, again, my Buff Bright light here, which lets me see all the correction I'm doing. I've angled it up a bit So I'm looking up, it's on my right side because I'm right-handed. And I'm gonna keep my polisher, you guys can't see it, but I'm gonna keep my polisher speed at about 3. And I'm gonna keep it at 3 basically the whole time until the very, very end. I might kick it up to 4 just to quickly pass over all of this. And I'm putting very light pressure, letting the polisher do the work. And with this light, this makes detailing a whole new experience. It is so freaking cool. So here we go. I'm not gonna speed up the first part. I want you guys to see most of this in live action, and then I'll speed up the rest so we don't waste your time. So now I'm just wiping off the product, the hybrid compound polish from 3D Car Care 1, and I'm using a totally virgin new microfiber towel on purpose because I could use a washed towel, but even with a washed towel, you're gonna have things like twigs, leaves, and maybe things you can't even feel and see that just might put swirls and stuff back in the paint. So that's all wiped off. So what I'm gonna do is, even though I'm looking at it in the light right here, I wanna go ahead and close the garage door again, and I wanna look at this from the perspective of no light whatsoever except for this. So basically what I did here, guys, just to give you a little context, is I focused a lot of my polishing and just like time of using the polisher and product and pad on the top half here. So I focused most of my energy up here, and then I focused probably half that energy down here. If you guys can see that in the camera, again, you don't want to look directly into the bulb, you want to look in the halo kind of around here. But check that out. There's definitely no holograms left, so that did what I wanted it to do. As I'm going up and down, let me grab the camera to give you guys a closer look. I'm gonna put it on a little bit lower light setting to kind of make it a little bit easier to pick up here. But this definitely kind of met my expectation here. Again, look at the halo around the light to kind of pick stuff up. I expected the 3D Car Care 1 product is a fantastic product, and then from these results that I'm seeing here, you know, you can definitely tell the pad that I used is fantastic. I'm gonna give you guys some more commentary on that in a second, but again, see how you just can't see, you really just can't see any swirls left. It's just that beautiful kind of pure reflective finish. And what Tom over at Buff Bright told me, he said, look, if you can get the paint perfect with this light, it's gonna look incredible in the sun. So even if there were a couple little holograms left, then I wouldn't really worry about it because you really wouldn't see it in the sun. But you guys can see I didn't polish up here whatsoever. And you guys can see those holograms right there as I move across. Check that out, all that hologramming up here. Did not polish up there. And then you come down here on this particular part of the paint. Again, just looks very, very good. Again, holograms up here. You guys can check that out. Hopefully, it's difficult to get all of it in the camera, but check that out. There you go. Terrible hologramming. We come down here. None whatsoever. Bam. And then down here, I focused a little bit less of my efforts, and you can see still some hologramming down here. Again, I would have to have focused the same amount of time as I did up there. But this definitely proves to me, number one, 3D Car Care, perfect, great product. Number two, the pad that I used from Americana Global, their medium cut orange pad, fantastic product. Now let me go into a little bit more detail about that pad in particular. So a couple quick notes here. Number one, there are a couple variables. It's cold outside. It's pretty cold in here in the garage, but it's okay in the garage, not nearly as cold as it is outside. So the surface of the paint is pretty cold itself. Number two, the entire time, so you guys can see kind of the compression on this pad. Okay, it's definitely a more heavy cutting foam pad, right? You know that the kind of the softer the compression is, the easier it is to push, the more finishing work it's going to do. This one is more like a memory foam pad. So it's very, very, definitely a medium cut pad, no question about that. It's extremely firm, and one thing you'll notice if you've done paint correction for a while, if you have a foam pad on your DA, on your backing plate, whatever size you're using, the more you polish, the flimsier the foam gets because the hotter it gets. So the hotter it gets, the easier it is to kind of screw up body lines and stuff because it starts conforming to the body line so much that sometimes it'll stall the backing plate and things like that. This pad, very, very literally, this foam pad was completely stiff and kind of held its form that entire time. So even when I went over these contour lines and these body lines, the backing plate never stalled because again, it's not kind of taking the form of that and therefore dispersing the pressure unevenly on the backing plate, causing it to stall in one way or another. It's just spinning and revolving the entire time. And so that's part of the reason why the correction got done so well in this one step, and I'm not gonna have to finish with another finishing pad because I'm getting the full work out of the DA and the polish because of the foam on this pad, because of the quality that it was built with. And I also think not only does it speak to the quality of the foam pad by Americana Global, but it also speaks to their kind of theory on these tiny little holes that are set in the polishing pad. Again, the idea here is that it's keeping the pad cool, and so it's not heating up as much. The airflow is increased. It's lowering the temperature of the pad, lowering the temperature of the polish, and therefore I'm getting the full work out of my correcting here. So this is a pretty cool video because I got to use a bunch of new tools and new products and stuff like that to kind of review here. But if you guys want to check out Americana Global's website or their foam pads, I'm going to hook all that information up in the YouTube description box below. Of course, if you want to check out the light by Buff Bright, there'll be links to that below, as well as the Rupe's polisher that I use. I love the Rupe's. There's so much freaking power behind this DA. It's just ridiculous every time I use it. If you're heavy in the paint correction world and you're doing it a lot, I'm a Rupe's guy. I would definitely suggest checking it out. Of course, I'll link that up below, as well as all the products I use. The stripper, sounds so weird to say that. I'm gonna hook up the stripper below, and I'm gonna hook up the 3D Car Care Hybrid Compound and Polish 1 below as well. So if you wanna buy any of that stuff, check that out. And of course, if you want more content on auto detailing, as far as products, tools, strategies, and everything auto detailing goes, check out my website below, detailingjunk.com. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button, and of course, any questions, comments, concerns, hook those up in the YouTube comments below. Listen, if you're a pro detailer or a car enthusiast and you just love everything auto detailing, like in this video, then definitely consider subscribing. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, thank you guys for being involved. Keep working hard, and I'll see you guys in the next video.